Happy holidays, Steeler Nation. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Alongside me is KT Smith. It is great to be here. It is Christmas Day Christmas Eve in America and all around the world. Well, depends what time zone you're in, but we are so glad to be with you for this special edition of the Steelers Q&A. It's a victory/holiday edition. Kevin Smith, Merry Christmas, my friend.
Thank you, Brian. Same to everybody out there. Steelers gave us a little early Christmas present. That's awesome. I know everybody's excited to talk about that.
And so this is your show, not ours. We are going to be talking about, of course, the Steelers' victory over the Cincinnati Bengals. Even though it was very improbable, well, it's a reality. And they beat the Cincinnati Bengals twice. Kevin, we had somebody come on our show yesterday. Not come on our show, but it was a comment. It was a Cincinnati Bengals fan. Called us the name for Pittsburgh that, it rhymes, but it means feces, and said that, basically
very creative.
A blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. And, well, guess what? The blind squirrel found 2 nuts this year.
Yeah, I got some nut comments for that guy, but I'll withhold them for the sake of this being a family show. But
So I am looking as people are starting to come on in. This is great because you're the ones that subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate you. It's great to see some familiar names and even unfamiliar names as well. Remember, this is your show. We're going to talk about everything that you want to talk about, but we're going to mix in some Steeler holiday memories as well. And there are plenty of them. As I look through, I'm going to Captain Underpants, Bad and Coach Smith, my Christmas wishes are coming true. Well, thank you. Wow. I really appreciate that.
I love the username. Captain Underpants is a favorite in the Smith house. We've watched that many times with my kids.
Well, Captain Underpants is he's a winner at Fans First Sports Network. He I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he won the tickets at our ticket giveaway early on. He's been with us since the beginning. Guys like Nap 1963. I've had a chance to sit next to him at a couple games this season, sing Merry Christmas. It's great to see you. Of course, Claude and Chair Devil and Tim J, Daniel Red, Pittsburgh Toddy 86. Nice to see Mark Malone. Nice to see Mark Malone in here too. So it's great to see all of you in here. It's your show, and Captain Underpants has the very first question. It's, does Mason start next week?
Yeah, you and I just talked about that on the Here We Go show. I think he should. I believe he should. I'll give you real quick my reasons why Rudolph should start. One, Pickett's coming off a 3-week layoff with the ankle. The Steelers are in a must-win situation. They can't roll the dice that Pickett will be playing to full form. He may be rusty. 2, Mason Rudolph obviously demonstrated that he is ready to go. The Steelers had said going into the Indianapolis game that they considered starting him, but they worried about him being rusty. Obviously, he didn't show signs of that against Cincinnati. And then 3, the chemistry alone that he developed with George Pickens warrants him getting another shot. I mean, obviously, Pickens is obviously a game changer when he's integrated into the offense properly. And the fact that Rudolph and Pickens just were on the same page and were able to turn in such a big game, to me, warrants another start for Rudolph.
I really think it does, but it makes me wonder what the progression here is if you don't want to Wally Pipp a guy. And I don't even think that is the same thing as Lou Gehrig back in the 1930s, but it's something I do have to bring up. Also in the show here, Brian Brown, always here. Brian Brown's a guy that absolutely hates the Cincinnati Bengals, so I know he's very happy. He's here too. Jeremiah Yoder's in the house too. Lots of emojis, so I've got to bring it up. Merry Christmas and happy holidays, Pittsburgh Steelers Nation. Our Pittsburgh Steelers are 8-7 as of last night's win over Cincinnati. Nap says, getting the yesterday, happy for MR2, but the last decent offensive performance was against Cincy. Maybe it's just the Bungles. What do you think? Is it just the Bungles?
It helps. They're in the bottom third of the NFL in basically every statistical metric. But I don't think that you can say that Cincinnati's defense was solely responsible for that performance. The Steelers created 17 points off of explosive plays, 17 points off of turnovers. When you create turnovers on defense and explosive plays on offense, you win the football game. And a few of those explosive plays were the result of really good quarterback play. Cincinnati wasn't in terrible position on the 66-yard touchdown throw to Pickens. That was just an absolute dime by Rudolph. And I mean, Rudolph did a great job reading coverage. That I think the win was more the result of elevated play on the offense and good scheming on the defense than it was an inferior opponent. Cincinnati's been playing good football. They played themselves back into the playoff picture. So while, yeah, the Steelers have had some success against the Bengals this year, that was not a bad football team, or at least not a team playing bad football that they beat on Saturday.
All right. I got to bring up Mark Malone. Never worried about any kind of controversy. I'm going to have to edit this a little bit. This dude just starts lighting it up, and MFers still question him. Do you, and let me go ahead and edit this with the official definition. Do you, a person born of parents not married to each other, not like scoring points?
I mean, a guy I used to coach with, like whenever we would screw up what was going to be a big play, he would say that player's name, whoever it was, and then he would say, Joe hates touchdowns, so like, yeah, I don't think Steelers fans hate touchdowns, right? Come on, man, let's go. Let's roll with Mason again.
Well, here's the question I have. And it's a legitimate question because I've been taking some heat. I never mind taking heat, but is it sustainable?
History says no. History says no. We've seen Mason Rudolph in the past. We know that he's not been able to play at a high level for a long period of time. But I don't know. Maybe the Steelers don't need him to play at a high level for a long period of time. Maybe they need him to be able to push the ball down the field, right? The deep ball. The obvious ways in which the deep ball opens up the offense were on display on Saturday. Maybe that chemistry with Pickens is enough. Maybe you catch lightning in a bottle. You get the Duck Hodges effect, right, where he plays well for a couple of weeks. This isn't week 3, and you need him to sustain it all year long. You need him to sustain it for a couple of weeks and then get some help. So, and is the alternative better? I mean, we've seen Kenny Pickett now for a while, and he's coming off of surgery and on almost a month off. So when you put those things on the scale, which one weighs more? To me, it's Rudolph.
And you know what? Don't get me wrong. I am enjoying this. I loved Mason's performance. I think it was great. I just have to ask that question. Is it sustainable? I'm glad you brought that up, that it only has to be a couple weeks. So Fly High asked, so is Kenny supposed to be cleared for next week?
I don't think we have. Do we have the answer to that right now, Brian? I don't think we have the answer to that.
No, but it kind of seems like it, right? If he was practicing this week, and history of Kenny Pickett shows that the last time he had this particular surgery, which he did at the University of Pittsburgh, it took him 26 days to get back on the field. This would be 28 days for Kenny Pickett to get back on the field. It's a possibility. But at this point right now, I could understand starting Mason Rudolph. I'm just saying what kind of think they're going to do is if Kenny Pickett they feel he's 100%, I think they're going to start him.
So you and I mentioned this on Here We Go. This is really a setup for the result, because no matter what the Steelers do, if they win, Tomlin and the staff will be credited with making the right call. And if they lose, people are going to kill them for making the wrong call, right? So, and that puts us in a win-win as fans. We can just wait back and see what happened, and then do the I told you so in the aftermath. But again, man, I just trying to put it out there. I'll be the first one to apologize if I'm wrong about this. If you start Rudolph, he plays poorly, and everybody says, they should have played Pickett. I'll be there to own up. That's why the coaches make the big bucks. They got to make these hard decisions.
Captain Underpants asked, does GP's night get credited to MR or the horrible Bengals secondary?
No, again, like I just said, I think that there were some instances where they were in pretty good position, especially on that second touchdown, that 66-yarder. That was good coverage. Rudolph threw a dime. If you watch that play again, Pickens doesn't break stride. And you know the best part of that play was that ball was thrown so well that Pickens was able to have late hands. Like late hands is like something you talk about with a wide receiver where he doesn't have to put his hands up till the very last second because the ball is so accurate that he doesn't have to extend. And often the D-back is looking for the receiver's hands to go. If the receiver's hands go, then the D-back's hands go. And Pickens' hands went so late on that because that ball was so accurately thrown that the DB didn't get a chance to react to it. And then from there, it was a foot race. So, I think while I agree that the Bengals secondary is not very good, I thought that the combination of good route running and ball placement made their night a lot tougher.
Brian Brown will comment, the Bengals can kiss it, and I'm a Mason supporter. Been called nuts for 2 years for saying Mason should start. Pittsburgh Toddy, I gave Mason a lot of feces. I was wrong, all caps. An enormous overflowing plate of crow is on the menu, and I'm happy to eat it. Happy to eat it too.
Yeah. I thought that Rudolph would be an improvement on Trubisky because that is the lowest bar we can set right now. Mitchell Trubisky played bad football, and that's a shame. I think I don't think we'll see him throw another pass as a Pittsburgh Steeler. But I did not see that coming, man. So we're all in that same boat, man. We're all just, kind of pleasantly eating crow right now.
Who's a bigger winner here, Kevin Smith? Is it Mason Rudolph or is it the Pittsburgh Steelers? Because it seems like Mason Rudolph just secured a contract for next year as a backup, and the Steelers don't have to look to replace 2 backups next year.
It's interesting that Rudolph said after the game that entering the game, he was wondering if he'd be selling commercial real estate next year, which really gives you some perspective about what a huge opportunity it was for him. It was probably make or break as far as his NFL career goes. If he played badly on Saturday, there was enough already written about Mason Rudolph. He put enough on film for teams to say, I'm going to pass on that guy. And it was probably time for him, as they say, to get on with his life's work. But obviously what he did put on film Saturday will encourage, if not the Steelers, and probably somebody else to take a chance on him. I heard during the broadcast, he was the 56th different starting quarterback in the NFL this season. That's incredible. And so when you think about the number of opportunities that are out there, he certainly showed that if there's that many jobs to be had or potential jobs to be had, that he should occupy one of them.
Yeah, and it's funny, when we were growing up, there was only 28 teams, so that would be 2 for each of the 28 teams. If they get, 8 more, if I do my math correctly, then they're going to double up the 32 teams. So that's really interesting as far as quarterbacks go. Lorraine Surwick, I hope I pronounced that correctly. If I didn't, please let me know. And you can go ahead and spell it out phonetically in the comment section. But Lorraine says they played as a team, made a difference. Kevin, is that the biggest X factor for this win?
Huge team win, right? Got contributions in all phases. Great job on the defensive side of the ball, plugging in these new guys, whether they're brand new, like Eric Rowe or Miles Jack, or if they're guys that have been there this year playing a new position like Patrick Peterson. I mean, at one point they were down 4 safeties and 4 linebackers. They're playing with basically the 5th and 6th safeties and the 5th and 6th linebackers. And then obviously, right, you get the big contributions from the expected guys like Watt and Highsmith. The offensive line played really well. So absolutely, I think I told you earlier, I thought that was maybe the best team win of the season.
Chris Long says, in all seriousness, watching Mason interviews, Mason brings a level of maturity and grown-ass man behavior, even if he'll never prove to be a starter. He proved to be a capable number 2 somewhere or here. Jeremiah Yoder says Mason got his shot last night, and boy, did he deliver last night, which was beautiful to see. My gosh, the end of that is all caps, so he's emphatic about that. Wow. M.Marcus39, why go back with Kenny? He wasn't playing well before he got injured.
Yeah, preach, Marcus. I'm with you, man. As far as Mason goes, the comments that he made afterwards about how he thought even though he hadn't taken a snap in over 2 seasons, he felt he was a better quarterback because of the ability of him to sort of sit back the last couple of years, learn, process, even just taking virtual reps. He just felt like he was more mature. He understood defenses better. And he prepared himself the right way. It would have been easy for that guy to sulk. Why aren't I getting my shot? The Steelers haven't had good quarterback play from Pickett and Trubisky, right? I mean, he could have been a distraction. He didn't. He handled it all like a professional. I think that was really refreshing to see.
Claude Bishop, let's be honest, bad. Kenny and Mitch can't read a defense, and Mason actually looked like an NFL quarterback last night.
I mean, I'm not going to say that Kenny Pickett can't read a defense. I think that the quality of coaching on the offensive side of the football matters, and that maybe if given a different coaching staff, then Kenny Pickett can flourish. But you sure saw Mason Rudolph make a difference in that regard. Again, the first touchdown pass, the second play of the game, that's Rudolph understanding that it's man coverage, putting a slant on the money to Pickens. There's a play in the second drive where the Steelers run kind of like a bubble screen out of the backfield to Jaylen Warren, but it's cover 3 and the alley player jumps the bubble screen and Rudolph comes right off the read and he hits a little wheel route to Allen Robinson up the sideline for a big play. That's him totally understanding it was cover 3. So he knew what he was getting and he knew where to go with the football. And that seems like fairly basic stuff, but the Steelers haven't gotten a lot of that this year.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's talk more about the holiday season here, because a lot of people are really excited about the big gift that the fans got yesterday with this big win. So let's talk about the Steelers at Christmas time. I always enjoy watching the game more right before Christmas. And it doesn't ruin my Christmas if they lose, but you feel so much better going into a holiday when they have a victory. And I did not expect this victory coming in. Do you have memories? And I want the live chat to chime in on this too. What's one of your all-time favorite games right before Christmas that the Steelers have played in?
For me, it's that Steelers-Ravens game on Christmas night. I don't know how many years ago that was.
2016.
2016, right? The Antonio Brown, game where he reaches the ball across. I think that was that game. But I was at my brother-in-law's house, so it's my wife's family, and none of them are real, big football fans. I mean, they're a big soccer house. And I'm a huge, obviously, football fan. So I basically had to coerce them to put the Steelers game on. And then they got to see me. I think around the family, I'm a fairly laid back guy. I'm not real demonstrative. I'm not very loud. But they got to see me in full Steelers-Ravens lunatic mode, yelling at the TV, like stomping around, basically being, a fool, which I think many of us are as we watch our favorite team. So I put that on display for the family. I think weirdly they may respect me more for that. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Some of them probably respect me less. But it was awesome. It was great to watch, and the passion that you display as a fan is just something I think that is infectious and genuine. And I just if they hold a grudge against me because of that, then shame on them.
Mr. Wood City and Daniel Red agree with you on that game. Big Buff also just Steelers Ravens with my young nephew the night he became a Steelers fan. That's huge. One of my favorite ones, and I've got a lot of favorites right before the Christmas holiday. I want to go back to another December 23rd game, and this was very special because it was the 30th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception, just like yesterday was the 51st anniversary. But this was 2002. The Steelers, with Tommy Maddox at quarterback, needed to go down to Tampa Bay to play the eventual Super Bowl champions that year. There were fights in the pregame, and the Steelers beat the Tampa Bay Bucks to stay alive. And it was just a fun game on Monday Night Football.
For a non-rivalry, there were a couple Steelers-Bucks games in the early 2000s. The Lathon Flowers and the Paper Champions remark, and
Warren Sapp.
Yeah, Bettis rumbling for 140 something yards in that game down in Tampa, throwing a touchdown pass in that to Jeremy Tooman. Those were some pretty good rivalries for a non-traditional rivalry.
Sapp running through their warm-ups and James Ferrier taking somebody out in warm-ups and not getting kicked out of the game.
That was great, man.
So here's another one. And I have I was looking behind me because I have a picture of this actual game. If we go back to 2005, and that was a special year because the Steelers finally came back and won a Super Bowl and that season, and it was all taking shape. Ben was in his second year. The Steelers go up to Cleveland on New Year's Eve, and I had just gotten into a really bad car accident. I was lucky to be fine, but I was very sore, and I was just happy that I was alive because I went to see my car, get the stuff out of my car at the salvage lot, and there was a car that was looked like it was barely hit, and the person died in the car. And so I was very thankful at Christmas time right there, and I sat down just sore like crazy watching the Steelers, and I can't remember the exact score, whether it was 41-0 or 45-0 beating the Browns. But that's the day that James Harrison body slammed a Cleveland Browns fan on the field.
I remember James Harrison being interviewed about that. And he said, as he saw that fan come running on the field, the thought in his mind was, I got a freebie on this one, which basically means I can do whatever I want to this guy and they're not going to punish me because he's on the field illegally. He must have lit up with the opportunity to, WWE chokeslam that guy.
And of course, the Immaculate Reception was right before Christmas. I was, my gosh, I just turned a year old, but Pittsburgh.Toddy86, I remember our entire family huddled around a radio when the Immaculate Reception happened. Even my grandparents were jumping around and yelling. And the Steelers on December 23rd, since the Immaculate Reception, are now 5-2 with that win yesterday. The only losses were against the Bengals in 2012 and that really bad Saints loss. It wasn't a bad loss, but it was a very devastating loss just a couple years ago. I believe in 2018 I believe it was 2018.
Was that the one Juju fumbled late?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah, that was a tough one.
So that's so awesome. There's other games I remember. One that they lost in 1995, right before Christmas, but it was a game that you felt good, even though they lost because they had just won 9 straight, and they lost to the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay, a game that Green Bay was expected just to blow them out. And Yancey Thigpen caught the winning touchdown from Neil O'Donnell, and his knee came out and knocked it out of his hands. Do you remember that game?
Yeah, I remember that game very well, right? Snow flurries. Yeah, I remember that
one. Matt Smith asked this question. If we all ask for the same thing, will Santa bring us a playoff game?
We were just on the Santa tracker in my house before we came on here. So I don't know, man. I mean, I think somebody posted it in here. They said something about if the Texans lose out and the Colts lose out and the Steelers win out, the Steelers will make it. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I'll root for that scenario. That doesn't seem totally improbable.
It's interesting because the Texans and Colts do play each other, and you've got some really interesting games here. It's you really need the Cleveland Browns. I know this is blasphemy. You got to have the Cleveland Browns beat the Texans today, and it doesn't hurt to have the Ravens run away with the division now. Because remember, the Steelers cannot win the division.
Yeah.
There's no possible way. So
yeah, definitely need the Ravens to beat Miami in a week from now, so that they will have clinched the number 1 seed and will rest some guys.
So Brian Brown asked what exactly has to happen. I will tell you this: you definitely need the Atlanta Falcons to beat the Colts. That's possible. You need the not the Ravens. You need the Browns, like we just said, to beat the Houston Texans. You need the Bills to lose a game. The Cleveland Browns are in a position where it really doesn't matter. Since you need them to win, it doesn't matter if they make the playoffs. There's going to be two other spots for the Steelers to get in. Right now, they are sitting at the number 9 seed going into Sunday's game. So there's a possibility. But the bottom line is it's not going to be possible unless the Steelers win out.
Yeah, the Bills got to go down to Miami in week 18. That'll be a tough one. And if Miami loses to Baltimore the week before,
and Dallas today.
Yeah, then that'll be a big game for Miami. That could actually even be for the division if they lose both those games. What's up with the Chargers always screwing the Steelers, Brian? I mean, they had that game in hand
always.
You know, you go back a couple years ago to the missed field goal and then,
2013.
Yeah, man. I mean, and then yesterday they had that game, and whatever. Damn Chargers.
Brian Brown says, "Oh God, I have to pull for Cleveland. That's like pulling for your poop not to stink."
Oh, that's a nice image, Brian. So.
I think with that one, it's time to get on out of here. This was a very special episode. We got to talk about the Steelers and the Bengals. We got to talk about some holiday memories. But before I do so, I'm going to ask you one more question. What's the most interesting Steelers Christmas gift you've ever received? And I know, I think I know this answer because I think it's something that your parents gave you when you were young.
My parents gave me when I was young.
We've had this conversation before, Kevin.
Oh, we have?
Didn't they give you a JCPenney Steelers jersey when you were growing up in New Jersey?
That is true. That is a knockoff number 58, which was like, the one that you probably was 130%, polyester, could have survived a nuclear war.
I still have my Franco and my Jack Ham jersey.
Yeah.
From JCPenney's or Sears. It was one of the catalogs.
I think the best one I ever got's on the chair behind me, man. That autographed Troy Polamalu jersey. If you see on the 4 right there.
I did not notice that until you pointed it out.
Okay. If you see on the 4 right there, there's some silver at the top of the 4. That's Troy Polamalu's signature. Somebody got me that for Christmas a few years back. I love that jersey. He's one of my all-time favorite Steelers.
Absolutely. I have received so many Steelers gifts over the years. That's what people seem to get me, and I love it, and I cherish all of them. The strangest one I've ever got was a crocheted Steelers fly swatter.
Crocheted?
Yes. My mom and sister used to like to go to craft shows, and I swear that if it was like a Steelers suicide machine, because it had the hypocycloids on it, they would have bought it for me. I mean, it's just like, as long as the Steelers on it, oh, Brian will love this. Hey, a Steelers enema kit, get it for Brian. All right. So now that we've reached 69 in the live chat, it's time to get on out of here. We've got to say this to you all. We absolutely adore you. Whether you think our takes are terrible, like somebody yesterday in the postgame show said that, Brian, you absolutely know nothing about football. You just want to hear yourself speak. And actually, I don't like hearing myself speak. I don't listen to me on the back end. But whether you disagree with us or not, we love you, and we can't do these shows without you. So thank you so much for being a part of our Steel Curtain Network family. We had some change this year in 2023, and it's all going to blow up in a great way in 2024. So make sure that you stick around to not only the Steel Curtain Network, but Fans First Sports Network for everything. Now, before I say goodbye and Merry Christmas to everyone, I want to say a very special Merry Christmas to my great friend, KT Smith. I've never had a chance to shake his hand and be in his presence, but I feel like he's one of my closest friends in the world because I spend every single week in season and off season, at least once with Kevin Smith, talking to him through this machine here known as my computer. And I absolutely adore you. Listening to you is a clinic. I'm blessed for having you in my Steeler life. Thanks so much, KT. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, much appreciated, Bryan. Same to you, man. It's a pleasure to be able to do this with you. Everybody out there, thank you so much for your support. Trying to get this new venture off the ground, Fans First and the Steel Curtain Network, has been a heavy lift, man. But we feel like the momentum is there, and that's a credit to everybody. It's going to get bigger and better. So please stay with us. Thanks so much, and everybody have a wonderful Christmas and holiday.
All right, let's do a quick Steel Curtain Network Merry Christmas roll call. Make sure I don't miss anybody here, but Merry Christmas to my partners in crime, Jeff Hartman, Dave Schofield. Let's not forget about the guy that usually does the Q&A, Jeremy Betts, Andrew Wilbar, Daniel J., Shannon White, the homies, Kevin Tate, Brandon Harriet, Big G, Sean Gurley, Pace Saunders. We're not going to forget about Greg Benevit and Kyle Kreis from What Yin's Talking About. We are not going to forget about Big Bro Sco. Merry Christmas to all of you. I don't think, please tell me, Kevin Smith, I didn't miss anybody, did I?
Bryan, you got better recall than I do.
I think Tony Defio as well. He hasn't been doing podcasts lately, but a big part of our Steel Curtain Network family as far as on the writing side. We're going to hopefully hear Tony on the mic again, but thank you to all of you, and thank you to everybody in the live chat. Daniel Red, thank you for mentioning Tony Defio there. Merry Christmas to all of you, all of our family. We can't free Tony. We want to free Tony. It's his computer issues. Do a live chat to get Tony a better internet service. Brian Brown. There you go. But anyways, no, thank you so much to all of us, from all of us here at Fans First Sports Network. God bless you. Merry Christmas, or whatever it is that you celebrate this time of year. We absolutely adore you. Kevin, let's do our Here We Go the Steelers show outro. Keep your feet on the ground.
Keep reaching for those hypocycloids, everybody.